Welcome to the Sabo Ross experiment. We have liftoff. Woohoo! Hey, welcome to the Sabo Ross experiment here on YouTube. We're just going live because we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about all kinds of things, and we're just going to see how things go today.
Yeah, this is going to be, since we're doing this one live like this is going to be almost a little bit of see how the sausage is made a little bit, especially at the beginning before we kind of get to the formal topics.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody a little bit about what we like to talk about.
Yes.
So, for anyone that's not seen anything, including any of our shorts, we like to talk about, Ross specifically is very knowledgeable on the movie scene and history and current and TV shows. And he is almost like an encyclopedia of knowledge for that genre. I like to talk about technology. I like to talk about AI. I like to talk about the military. I like to talk about everything going on with social media in the terms of AI related and what the future of the world's going to be. I can't help it. I have to talk about it.
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see where we're going. And again, it's like I was indoctrinated with movies as a little kid. Like as my parents had said, you were neither planned nor wanted. Oof. And then sounds darker than it actually was. But I was not an expected child. So my brother and my two sisters were older. So they wanted to go see like more adult movies like Animal House and Porky's, and here they are dragging my 6 and 7-year-old ass to see movies like that. And so it's like Porky's? I got this. Oh, I saw Porky's in the theater and in the drive-in with my family.
Oh, I love Porky's.
I love the first Porky's classic.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. How many was there? 3 Porky's?
3 Porky's.
And the first one, man, did that have Jim Belushi in the first one or not?
He was not involved at all.
He wasn't in any Porky's?
I don't think there's. The only named star from Porky's is Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall, the female from Sex and the City. One of her earliest roles is in that movie, and she did sex scenes and nudity and stuff. And
well, the thing is, though, I might be getting mixed up because I can't remember.
So you're thinking of Animal House.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking about Second City because did the one guy play in all 3 Porky's? The dad. Or was that?
No, that's totally separate. You never really saw parents except for 1 or 2 brief parents in the movie.
Oh, no, I'm thinking American Pie.
You're thinking of American Pie.
That's where I'm getting mixed up.
And you're getting Eugene Levy.
Yes, Eugene Levy.
Who is from Second City Television and Second City Theater, Toronto.
Oh, was it Toronto? So
yes.
Not Chicago.
Not Chicago, but there was huge crossover this is something I happen to know about because of my friend George Kaliotis. He works improv, and he worked for Second City.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, both in L.A., he was a teacher in L.A., and he was main stage cast for the brief stint when they had a Second City Theater in Cleveland. But Second City Theater, so many of their people wind up on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I know.
But there's also the Groundlings is a similar, then there's the I.O. Improv group, I.O. West, which used to stand for Improv Olympic, and they had huge legal battles with the Olympic Committee. Over the name Olympic. But but improv comedy is such a fascinating thing. It's like, I'm not a comedian, I'm not that funny, but working with comedians has always been such a joy.
Well, the thing is, we're going back to Second City. I was young, and it was really hard for me to try to stay up at 11 o'clock. I think it was on like at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 or something.
11:30, I think.
After the news. And I just loved that show, but I could never stay up enough to watch it. And I don't know what Second City I was watching, but I just remember some of the characters. And then next thing I know, I see them in the movies or Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah. That original Second City TV started in Canada in the late 70s based on the Second City Theater in Toronto, and they ended up doing that TV series, SCTV.
That's it.
Pretending they had a television. You had Rick Moranis.
Yes, that's
and
Rick.
Dave Thomas, and they had the Strange Brew. They did the movie Strange Brew. Doug and Bob McKenzie. You had Eugene Levy, John Candy.
I thought John Candy. That's how I became a fan
Martin
of John
Short.
Candy. Martin Short was in it as
Andrea Martin. It just these gods of comedy were in SCTV. Martin Short was phenomenal in the show too. Dave Thomas was one of the few people that didn't start with Second City Theater. He went straight just to the show.
Where did they? Do you have any idea where they filmed that at?
Toronto.
It was in Toronto.
Shot entirely in Toronto.
John Candy is a Canadian, right?
He's Canadian.
Yeah. Okay.
The entire cast there was Canadian.
Okay.
But they did a few other movies. Like they did a movie called Going Berserk, starring John Candy, Eugene Levy, and Joe Flaherty.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's an obscure movie. This is something I wanted to start talking about on the show every week, and this will be my first one. Just totally improvising it because I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, see?
This is perfect because I did want to talk about this, like pick a movie, an obscure movie to talk about that I love, and this will be my one. Is called Going Berserk, from like 1982 or 3, maybe even as early as 81. Stars John Candy, and it's actually a remake of the Manchurian Candidate done as a comedy.
No kidding.
Now, Manchurian Candidate was originally a serious drama with Frank Sinatra, remade with Denzel Washington in the early 2000s or late 90s. I can't remember which. But it's like that. But they did it as a comedy where John Candy's a limo driver. He's dating this woman, and he's engaged to her, and her dad is a senator or a politician. And he gets brainwashed into trying to assassinate him. And they do it as a comedy. And it's hilarious, and it's so weird, but the greatest thing in it is Eugene Levy, who later did, and we have to spell it out, Schitt's Creek, the TV show with SCH. But Schitt's Creek, he was doing just phenomenal comedy work in this movie that didn't deserve him. And John Candy was like really beneath himself with this stupid movie that is just so much fun to watch. And it's called Going Berserk, extremely rare. I think it eventually was on DVD. You're definitely not going to find this in 1080p on Blu-ray.
I'm trying to think, when you described him as a limo driver, he may have done that role before, but I feel like that rings a bell because I feel like I thought I've seen every John Candy movie because he was like from that show he just became somebody I wanted to watch.
What's funny is I'm a huge Orson Welles fan, and I had never seen his SCTV impersonation of Orson Welles till about a week ago. It was so good and so funny. John Candy, he was like a living human hug.
Yeah.
One of the funniest human beings ever.
Yeah. Soft-touched, nice, as opposed to John Belushi.
Just outrageous and in your face.
Yeah. What was the other guy, though, real quick, that also was sort of like a John Belushi, and he's passed away as well. Overweight, blonde hair.
Chris Farley.
Yeah. Don't you think he kind of took that Belushi and took it to the next level?
Chris Farley was an enormous fan of John Belushi. I remember there was a strange thing that happened that I can find no evidence that this happened in reality, but it did. MTV did a thing where one day they did 12 hours of program where a bunch of like 2 and 3 minute documentaries about random people, random topics, whatever. And one of them, they did a tour of the costume department at SNL, and Chris Farley did the tour of that room.
Oh.
He found a kilt that had the initials J. Belushi, and then he hugged it because he was so deeply inspired by John Belushi, and I've never seen that appear again. And I've hunted for that and can't find it.
Interesting. I don't think I'm not getting the switch on. There we go.
You were. It just you got to be right on the mic, I think.
I got to get on top of it. I wanted to, just because we're going through the cast. So I have a few. So the guy that you mentioned his name. Give me the cast again.
Chris Farley, or are you talking about from SCTV?
SCTV.
So for SCTV, you had Rick Moranis.
Yeah. Okay. Stop right there. Rick Moranis. So when Spaceballs. It's one of my favorite movies, and he plays
Dark Helmet.
Yeah, Dark Helmet, and he's just so tiny, But I mean, I don't know if people appreciated that role or not.
Oh, they did.
Did they? Okay. I mean, it was brilliant, just brilliant.
Now, do you want to? I'm going to bring it down and then bring it back up.
Okay.
So you know that Rick Moranis retired from acting, right?
Well, I was wondering why you don't see him.
Here's what happened: his wife died. He retired from acting to raise his kids. and all of his kids are now in their late 20s or early 30s. They're living their lives, and he still didn't come out of retirement until the Spaceballs sequel. He's just announced he's coming out of retirement for the first time ever for a movie or TV show to do Spaceballs 2.
Now, wait a minute. You're telling me there's a Spaceballs 2 coming up?
Just announced. Mel Brooks.
Is that a secret? Because
No, they've made a huge announcement.
I knew Mel Brooks was doing something, but I didn't.
He's 100 years old.
No, he's 100?
He's 100 years old. And Mel Brooks is, I don't know if he's directing, but he's definitely producing and co-writing it.
Okay.
And they just announced they had a bunch of announcements. Here's the thing that blew my mind is, do you remember one of the great scenes in the original Spaceballs is when they're combing the desert and everybody's got actual combs and they cut to the two African Americans? One of them was the actor named Tim Russ, who was later on Star Trek Voyager. He announced he's back in for the sequel. He had that one scene, and he's already announced that he's in Spaceballs 2.
Wow.
Then you have Bill Pullman, is the guy who played the kind of Han Solo type character. He's back. And his son is playing his son in Spaceballs 2.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Those are all official announcements.
When did this news come out? I mean,
about a week or two ago.
Okay. Wow. Now, they're not filming yet then.
No, they haven't started filming, but they have a script.
Do you think it's going to be a Netflix thing? What do you think?
I don't know.
Idea?
I don't remember who's got it. I don't remember which company has it, but I'm pretty sure that's getting a theatrical release.
You think it's theatrical?
I think it's going to be theatrical.
Spaceballs 2 theatrical
Spaceballs
release.
2.
Now, Spaceballs came out, is it in the 80s?
Late 80s, I believe.
So how many generations do you think? Do you think, I don't think my son, 27, knows anything about Spaceballs.
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think they missed the whole Mel Brooks era.
Yeah.
Talk about an era. I mean, Mel Brooks in the 70s, he went from making The Producers, the movie, before it became a hit musical play. Then he did Young Frankenstein.
Oh, it's great.
Timeless comedy. Followed that with Blazing Saddles, a movie that could not be made today.
No, not at all. I mean, I wish it could. You know, it's harmless, but it's
utterly harmless, and yet people today, and this is it's so strange to see this both liberal and conservative. Like, conservatives hated it at the times, like, this is too rude, too bad. Now it'd be liberals are like, this is too rude, this is too bad. It's just such a strange thing to see the way the world is spun around inside of itself. But yeah, Blazing Saddles, one of my favorite things about it is when Mel Brooks was writing it, he goes, well, I want to emulate an experience I had when I first got into writing comedy. Mel Brooks, right out of college, got his first main job doing a live TV sketch comedy show called The Show of Shows with Sid Caesar. That was Saturday Night Live in the 1950s and early 60s. And so the funny thing is the writing team that wrote the episodes was Lee Iacocca, Carl Reiner was the head writer, Sid Caesar himself, Mel Brooks was the young writer. I'm forgetting. And their writing intern was Woody. Their unpaid intern was Woody Allen.
Was it really? Well, can I just back up one second? Why was Lee Iacocca a writer?
I don't know. He was in that group.
Huh.
It was just the strangest thing to have somebody like that. Maybe I have the name wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of a different person. Because Lee Iacocca was the car guy, right?
Yeah, he's the one that brought the K car.
Yeah,
and saved Chrysler.
There's some weird guy like that was on the writing staff. So
okay,
but Mel Brooks, when he wanted to do Blazing Saddles, like, I want to emulate that writer's room. So he got a group of people, of like 8 to 10 guys, and put them in a conference room, and they wrote together. One of them was Richard Pryor.
Oh, Richard Pryor.
Then you had the two guys that would later invent WKRP in Cincinnati, the guy that would later write and direct Honeymoon in Vegas. These are all the people in the room, and I mean, Richard Pryor, who the studio's like, we can't let him play the lead. He can't do it because he's too controversial. He uses the F word too much in his stand-up, so they didn't want him. But he was there in the writers' room, and I mean, the thing is like, I love unions But this is one of those things where union rules are idiotic. Most of those guys couldn't get credit for writing because the WGA has a limit on who can be credited. And it's like, this was a group writing thing. They should all be credited equally for what they did. And what I loved about it was there's some guys that are great at inventing a joke. Another guy's good at innovating that joke, and another one at adding a better punchline.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like that combination. And the other thing is everybody's competing with each other.
Well, if Richard Pryor's in the room, I could see some competition going on because he'd be like, "What the?"
He's one of the funniest men that ever lived.
Oh, he's so funny.
And
so funny.
I would have killed to have been in the room to see what jokes they threw away.
Boy, I wonder if there's any behind the scenes. It's probably just photos.
Probably just photos at best. But
man, what a great topic! I never thought about that history because some of these actors, I haven't heard their names in a long time. Spaceballs just brings it all up.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you got to say Gene Wilder. I don't think we mentioned his name yet, but
Gene Wilder was a genius beyond all get out. Now, that's another behind-the-scenes story I'll tell from Young Frankenstein, very brief, which is Gene Wilder came up with the idea for Young Frankenstein, and Mel Brooks didn't like to do movies where he didn't come up with the idea. So Gene Wilder had done the producers for him and went to him, and he's like, hey, I think we should do this. And so they wrote it together, and they were neighbors. They lived like on the same cul-de-sac or same little street in Hollywood. And they would sit at Gene Wilder's house writing and fighting and have screaming matches in disagreement. And Mel would get so mad he would quit and go home, walk home 2 doors down, and then call him and goes, who was that crazy guy yelling in your house a few minutes ago? That's just insane.
That's like a scene in a movie that I saw not that long ago. I can't remember, but a woman discovers this gentleman who keeps coming out of his house. He's a little bit she thinks anyway there's something wrong with his mind, but she goes and starts to visit him, and he's this writer from Hollywood from back and a director from back, when it started in the 20s and whatnot. Same thing. He had that kind of, and who knows, maybe he was playing one of those characters, but I could see that. That's just so funny. Like, have an argument, then go walk back to your house, grab a sandwich, get on the phone.
And be like, who was that crazy person?
Yeah.
The thing is, Mel was doing it entirely to be funny.
Yeah. And it works, though.
And
he can do that.
I love that history. And I got to see a piece of something like that because Carl Reiner, which is Rob Reiner's father.
Yeah.
I just want to double check. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. The switching is working. But yeah, one of the funniest things is like Carl Reiner was Mel's boss on the Show of Shows when he worked there on their version of Saturday Night Live in the 50s. And they are still best friends, and they were neighbors up until Carl passed away just a couple years ago. But what's funny is Jerry Seinfeld 10 years ago did that Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Yes, yeah.
He took Carl Reiner to lunch, and he was talking about every night Mel comes over, and we watch Jeopardy.
Wait, Mel's coming over
to Carl Reiner's house.
Oh, okay, Carl Reiner's telling this story.
Carl Reiner's telling us to Jerry Seinfeld, and he goes, "Do you really do this? Is this a joke?" He's like, "It's not a bit. That happens." So he goes to the house at 7 o'clock with Mel there, and they're watching Jeopardy. He films it. He gets a bonus interview with Mel Brooks hanging out.
Because he's there.
Because he lives next door to Rob Reiner, and they watch Jeopardy every night.
Wow.
And it was hilarious because the other thing about it is like, that's what those old-time performers, like, when the camera's on them, they're on. And they wouldn't let up, and it was like they probably have 4 or 5 hours of material that hit the cutting room floor of them just trying bits on each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so funny this is one of those things about me is I don't generally like really old movies. I have to watch myself now. It's like, I can't say old movies anymore because there are people that think Pulp Fiction is an old movie, and that makes me feel really ancient as it is. But there's not a lot of those movies from before 1970. There's not a lot of movies I like. Well, especially like black and white movies.
Yeah. Well, my mother liked all that stuff, and she has or had the tiny little TV with the VHS in the bottom.
Yeah, the TV VCR combo.
And when she got bored, she would go grab one of those old black and white movies on VHS, and we used to pick them up at the garage sales and flea markets and whatever. And I'd walk in, and she'd be playing one of those old movies on VHS in that little TV, and she was so into it, you know.
And but the thing is, I have just a literal handful of, like, I could count on both hands the number of those older movies that I like,
Yeah.
that I actually like break through.
Well, the ones that for me, what I'm a big fan of is this would probably be late '60s, but like Guns of Navarro, the war movies when Clint Eastwood got involved, or
Those start. That's late '60s into the '70s.
what was
yeah.
that? Richard, English actor Richard.
Harris?
I don't know if his last name was Harris. He played in a lot of the war movies. Richard, I'll have to look him up. He was such a great actor.
But Gregory Peck did a bunch of those.
Yeah, Gregory Peck.
But yeah, so to me, those exceptions are Citizen Kane
Yeah.
almost plays as a modern movie today, because Orson Welles was one of the first people to ever commit to film that realistic acting style. That
I
what they
see.
call, there was a woman that modernized realistic acting on stage and in film, which was Stella Adler. And these are people that Marlon Brando and James Dean were huge Stella Adler
Is that
students.
right? Yeah. So you mean going from like where it was kind of stagey and
The big thing about it is, like, there was stage acting always had a certain, because you're projecting to the back of the room, so it
Yeah,
was never
yeah.
realistic.
Yeah.
People don't scream like that. But more importantly, when the early movies, one of the reasons there's such a turnoff is, and I found out in the last year, there's a name for this accent called the transatlantic accent. There was this thing that was in between movie talking. This is how they talked in movies. It was almost like they were in the talking pictures. They always had that thing, and it wasn't realistic in the slightest. And it was like a hybrid of, they were talking at a lower volume than theater, but it still had this overly theatrical, unrealistic
Yeah.
tone. And I absolutely hate that.
Uh-huh.
And what's funny is when I watch Citizen Kane is you have Orson Welles, who sounds like a person, a normal person, and everybody else is talking like this. They're talking about what he was doing when he was doing this. It was always like that. It was always this guy. And so it's like, but then you had, like, that's not entirely true. Like Joseph Cotton only did that when he played the old version of his character. When he was the younger version, they had that realistic acting
Yeah.
that no one else was doing.
yeah. Well, that talking that you just gave, I always equated that to a gangster movie, like the guy from Chicago or the guy in New York. That's
But it was in, when I watch all old movies, it's like,
I never noticed that. I
there
guess
was always this thing, whatever. And they always referred to it as like they were in talking pictures. They always called them pictures.
Yeah.
Let's go see this picture.
Yeah. Well, I just thought that was just like, a New York thing where that, because New York is such a big city.
But they think all those old movies have some form of this overacting because they came from theater, because film was still pretty new.
Yeah. Okay.
And this whole acting style, the Stella Adler, they call it method acting. And method is when they were like it off camera as well. But there was this more realistic acting style that nobody had done. And then after Orson Welles, his big followers were James Dean and Marlon Brando, really pushed that style into the forefront. And that's why later when they did the Godfather movies, all these really young actors in the 60s and 70s were huge fans of both.
Oh, wow. Which makes that movie so powerful because it's so real, right?
Yes.
So they're all just,
They were all actors, and when they got a chance to work with Brando,
they stepped it up.
everybody was like, they were on their best behavior. They were not on their best behavior behind the scenes. They had a mooning competition.
Yeah.
And even Brando got involved with mooning people.
Did they really?
Yes, they did. That's a big thing from the books on the making of movies. They had a mooning competition of when someone's trying to do a serious take, one of the other actors is behind the camera and they drop their pants and show their butt to people.
Marlon Brando did that?
Everybody thought he wouldn't do it, and then he won because he got up in the rafters and the lighting and goes. Everybody looked, and he was mooning the entire cast. He won.
Oh, wow.
He won, and nobody was expecting him to be that
Yeah.
loose and
Yeah.
a part of it, but he was.
Must
He
been-
was a mercurial type person.
Yeah. Jeez.
But yeah, so it's like I don't really like those old movies, but there's those few that I like Citizen Kane, 12 Angry Men, which I hadn't seen until maybe 5-6 years ago. The original, like 1958, 59 one. Phenomenal. And of course, Hitchcock was in a category of his own.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we had to study that in college.
Oh yeah, I studied it on my own, self-taught. But you can't not watch Hitchcock.
Yeah.
If you want to get into even just watching movies, the root of so much of what we have is rooted in Alfred Hitchcock's movies.
Absolutely.
Can you believe he never won an Oscar?
No, I can't believe that. He just didn't get the respect he deserved from the
Not from the
committee,
Academy.
Yeah, the Academy. That's shame on them.
That's a crime.
Yeah.
But then again, they did the same thing to Spielberg. Spielberg didn't win for years because the strange thing is there's this incredible series of books from the Mississippi University Press that are interviews with directors. And what they do is it's a collection of pre-existing interviews from print or even transcribed from video. And the one on Spielberg was one of the most fascinating because we think of Steven Spielberg today, we're thinking, how can this guy not be confident? He's one of the greatest filmmakers in history. But man, in the 70s when he was young, he craved approval from all the filmmakers he loved and never got it, except for a couple directors liked him. But in the Academy, they hated Steven Spielberg. When he did Jaws, the Academy's like, no Oscar nomination, nothing for this kid. He's definitely not getting it because it wasn't him. It was the editor, Verna Fields. So he's like, great, I love Verna. Now I can never work with her to prove that I'm the real talent.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
true.
Then he did Close Encounters, and they're like, it wasn't that kid, Steven. It was definitely the cinematographer.
Well, who somebody on that Academy had it out for him then?
All those old guys. Do you know why they hated him?
No, why?
He didn't even graduate film school.
Oh, you mean you didn't take the
route. He was this
of
young, in their minds, he was this young rebel punk, and they didn't respect him because, like, you didn't earn your way like we did.
Yeah, well,
it was ridiculously stupid of them to be like that.
Well, that's
but they viewed him as this young punk because right after Jaws, they started referring to it as a Spielberg film already. He got more credit than the shark for that film in the public.
Uh-huh.
So the filmmakers in Hollywood were like, no, this is wrong. Who does this kid think he is? And so he kept trying to prove himself over and over. And even with E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, he got the ultimate shaft with Raiders of the Lost Ark is a masterpiece. I watched that movie today, and it is still pretty flawless as a film. They shunned him.
Well, I don't know what the box office receipts on all his films, they were up there, right? Because that's what matters today, as far as a business goes.
As far as a business, but the Oscars are still this separate weird thing. But
yeah.
He kept trying to prove himself until he finally did Schindler's List, where he had nothing to prove, and he finally won his Oscar.
Yeah.
When he wasn't trying to win it is when he won it. When he made a movie that was like...
But I mean, that's sad, but it's true. I mean, it has to be some kind of thing like that in order to
break through.
Yeah, or whatever their criteria is, But so, what do you say we move on to something else?
Let's move on to the real topics now.
Yeah, well, those were good topics.
Those were great topics, but
we got. I had some other movie stuff, but I think I'm gonna.
Let's skip the movie stuff for now.
So. Another headline, talking about, well, the humanoid robots, AI, and I got a thing with real estate and space.
Okay.
So this is crazy. This is absolutely. I mean, I can almost believe anything, and a lot of times, sometimes maybe I'm gullible, and then things never come to reality, and I get all in behind it, and it just never comes to reality. So. Some of our other conversations we talked about humanoid robots and how robots will be coming into society with all the technology. And
by robots, I mean, most people automatically assume like a humanoid android.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, even the Roomba counts as a robot to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And we're on the cusp of something. What do you think it is?
Well, this is out there, but man, does it tie everything together. So we talk about, I have to go back to Elon Musk. We had a lot of talking about Elon Musk and his visions and SpaceX. SpaceX has made a huge inroads into the government for NASA because of reusable rockets.
Yep.
And then I like to talk about the Chinese because all the government talks about today is competing with the Chinese. And the Chinese have great humanoid-type robots already. And I think we had mentioned where they were able to fire a laser and hit the moon. And
Yep.
there's a lot of things we don't know about the Chinese because the government doesn't want to talk about it. Some of their advancements in space. Well, the reason why Elon Musk talks a lot about humanoids, the next evolution of his business. So here's what's happening already today. So you have Kennedy Space Center, and there is warehousing being built or being gobbled up this is the real estate part of it. Because what they're doing, we talk about data centers, and everything's about power. If you follow the news today, we need to have more power. We got to power all this stuff. These new factories we're going to build here, and then all the data centers.
Data centers, yeah.
Right. Well, some genius came up with the idea, and they've been talking about this, the Chinese especially, how we're going back to the moon. I don't know when it is, 2028. It's out there. And they talk about, we have Space Force, right? Mm-hmm. You don't hear much about it. But the moon is a critical part to the future of the world. And the reason is, in Cape Canaveral and these warehouses, they are building components that are they're waiting on rockets. They're going to take them up to the moon. We're going to put humanoid robots in the payload, and we are going to start building data center and other types of things on the moon. And they're going to be powered by solar, and they're going to be cooled by space.
Yeah, because it's already a much lower temperature up there.
Yes, and then they want to use the moon as a launch pad there, so the humanoid robots take the components, they build the whole data center. I mean, come on, that's out there.
That's such an interesting prospect. I imagine it would be really expensive. And the only flaw I see is how do you get the data from there back to here at a rate that's worthy of that build?
Well, that was the beauty of it. If you think about all this, you've got Musk already has internet system.
Yeah, Starlink.
Starlink already happening.
Amazon, so if he can create the connection,
they can already do it. They can take the data and get it beamed back to the United States without losing any of the information.
So the interesting thing to me about that is that ties to something I did. One of my day jobs was a company. We mentioned the company before, Deep, out of the UK. They're doing practicing for its preparation for deep space habitation. They're doing underwater, long-term habitation, to test it for pressure, oxygen, psychology of being unable to leave to do other stuff. Once you're down there, you're committing to 6 weeks minimum with no chance of escape unless it's emergency. And even if there is an emergency, because of the bends, meaning what happens to you pressure-wise, the oxygen in your blood could be very dangerous and cause clots and other issues if you go up too fast. Yeah. It could kill you.
Yeah, the bends.
Big
time.
Did you ever hear how they found out about the bends? How it wasn't from deep sea. Do you know where they found out, where they discovered it and named it?
No.
Building the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, no kidding.
Because they did the thing to where they created that thing that was deep enough to put in the foundations, but they were so low when these guys were coming up every night and getting sick, they finally were able to create a diagnosis. I think it might have something to do with the pressure and the depth for some reason. Like it didn't occur to them before, because think about it though. Nobody was going to those depths and coming back up that fast.
Yeah.
When they were doing it dry. And that's how they figured it out. Mm. So that's a fascinating thing to me, just in terms of how they found out about the bends. But yeah, there's all that prep. You're not prepping for that unless we're planning on putting people out there like that.
Well, that's true, and I think what the government's worried about is the fact how far behind we are in the space race. Even though we've got SpaceX and a few other players. Amazon, Bezos, his company, and there's quite a few others. The new thing is there's several startups for rockets, and they're going to need it because, matter of fact, somebody was telling this story about building this, space station, not space station, but building things on the moon. While they were at the facility, there's a specific company right now that's actually doing it. This is already in motion at Cape Canaveral. And while there, they were launching rockets steadily, daily. Rockets are launched daily. What they're doing, I have no idea. It's like secret, But there's stuff going up into space constantly, dropping stuff off or satellites. I don't know.
So the question I got for you is, with that interest in that, what is your thoughts on the International Space Station, the ISS?
Well, I think the ISS is going to be something that's going to go by the wayside real soon.
Really? Why do you think that?
Well, because this race to colonize space, Mars, Mars is one of them, of course, but the moon, you're not going to want partnerships. And, the problem, what doesn't make any sense to me anyway, is Russia's a major problem. I mean, look what they're doing. Why in the hell are we up with a shared space station when we have wars all across our planet?
But I think that's the thing about it is I think that even with international wars, it doesn't reach the space station. It's not used for military purposes in any way. Yeah. It's kind of like almost its own Switzerland, for lack of a better term, meaning it's like, this doesn't count.
Well, but the reason it doesn't count, but I'll tell you, the United States was using Russia for years to get up to space because our program was so far behind.
Yeah.
And I think maintaining a space station relationship will help them maintain being able to use Russia's launch capabilities.
So you think once they remove that, but the thing is, there's the notion if they just keep building on it and making it bigger and bigger and bigger, do you think they're just going to build a new space station?
Well,
something that's going to be kind of a way station in between?
No, what it's going to be is it's going to be on the moon.
That far?
Yeah, because China already has their own space station. I don't know if people know that or not.
I didn't know that.
It has nothing to do, and they don't talk about it, but they've got a place up there, and they've already tried numerous times to land things on the moon. They've been doing testing nonstop. India also. They have their own space program, and they've been trying to land stuff on the moon. So right now, secretively, everybody's trying to land robot-type things, unmanned craft, onto the moon, and they're all having trouble. Even the United States, I think, has tried a couple times, and they either lose contact, things blow up, fall over, whatever, without people.
Control. I mean, the problem is the controlling of those things with the time delay.
Yeah.
Well, something goes wrong, you've made it move left, you don't know for 28 minutes that it actually fell into a hole.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially like when they're talking about Mars, that. But, with the moon being, it's not really been mapped out all the way. There is a dark side. Mm-hmm. There are, like you just said, holes and things.
Craters.
Yeah, and, when you're dropping little things this big, I mean, one big old hole is, oops, I just fell over.
Yeah, I mean, think about it with the remote-controlled vehicles and stuff.
Yeah.
They also trying to plot out not lower gravity. It's really hard for them to work that out, especially with the robots. Because that's one of the things, if I remember correctly, that for people that have done 6 months on the International Space Station, when they came back down, the problem became their bone density lowered.
Yeah.
By having so little gravity for such an extended period, your body adapted to it, and that's something we haven't really addressed.
Well, I think that's part of what you're talking about, though, too, in underwater. I think they can create that zero-G or that
It's not quite zero-G, but it's the pressure.
That's what I should say.
They deal with the pressure in a similar way, and the danger of you get a leak, you're dead.
Yeah.
Smallest puncture, you're dead. You know what I mean? That kind of thing is the real test. But it doesn't account for the lack of gravity. The only way to emulate that is we have what they call the vomit rocket, which is those planes that go up and you can have like 7 or 8 minutes of zero G.
Well, Bezos has it.
Bezos has that quite a bit.
They get
But I think I don't understand why Bezos keeps doing like taking William Shatner and Katy Perry into space. He's not doing anything real. He's doing more PR stunts.
He is doing things real, but I don't know what that is. I mean, I think they did get a government contract, so
I hope so.
I have no idea why he does those. I don't really know. There has to be some reason.
More PR.
I know he likes to spend money.
But the thing is, he gets PR. His wife took Katy Perry
that didn't
up.
go
He
so
got
well.
to take PR-wise, it didn't go well, which
No.
I think is just ridiculous. Why is everybody bashing poor Katy Perry over that? Like, what did she do wrong here?
I don't know. She's got a lot of bad press. I mean, you know what it is? I think because her last couple records or albums, they didn't do too well, and I don't know. They just used that against her, and just it's what do you call that, domino effect? Beep beep beep. All of a sudden, she's standing there going into space. I mean, good for her. I don't have a problem with it. I thought
I don't know why everybody. I mean, I could see some jokes made, but they they narrowed it down to her and really picked on her, and I couldn't work it out.
Also, the gal that does the CBS
Gail, friends with Oprah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all. She definitely lets you know she's friends with Oprah. But I mean, she's a sweetheart as well. She got dinged. I don't know.
Not like Katy Perry,
No.
but yes, she did. They all got made fun of.
Yeah.
Fine to make a few jokes, but that went way far.
Now the thing is, if they were men, which the men went, and Shatner. Now Shatner, that was cool. I was so excited about that.
He's Captain
he's
Kirk.
90 some years old.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk. I mean, that was smart of Bezos. I mean, did Captain Kirk go with Bezos and his brother? Was that the flight? Or
I
did
believe
he
he was in the flight.
the very
with
first one, right?
One of the first.
Yeah. I mean, I
very
watched
early.
that whole thing. That when Bezos went up, I was like, "Wow, this is awesome." And then it was some kind of technological feat for him, but at the same time, that really compared to what SpaceX is doing and all these others,
So I just hope that again, there needs to be something more streamlined. It makes me think of because there's an upcoming movie. But did you ever see Matt Damon, The Martian?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's one of the few movies where I showed it to my dad.
Yeah.
He got so giddy and excited, and I watch that movie probably once a year because it's such a positive message. It's so uplifting.
Yeah.
I watch that movie and it just makes me feel good.
Well, I didn't think it was going to end well. That's what worried me. I was like, oh man, I wanted to leave the theater. I saw it in the theater, and I was like, oh dude, this ain't going to end well. I can't take that. But
the other thing is the novel, which I still haven't read, is written by a guy named Andy Weir. He has another novel that's recently turned into a movie with Ryan Gosling, and I haven't even seen the trailer yet, but it's supposedly very similar, very good. But NASA was concerned because they thought he had inside information he shouldn't have.
Is that right?
When he did The Martian, like, how did you know about this? He's like, well, it's publicly here. He's like, well, this is supposed to be secret. He's like, well, I found it on this website. He's like, he had to explain himself.
Yeah. Well, I have. I've worked with a couple friends that have worked over at NASA on video stuff. From what I understand from all of them, the NASA people over there, and it might just be the PR people, they're real pricks, and maybe rightly so. We're talking a lot of secrets, but again, NASA has gone by the wayside, partially because being unfunded by the government.
Yeah. So
you don't have your money, and it's a government organization. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, the worst thing is the chokehold that's happened to NASA. I mean, we had the space shuttle missions. They were all interesting, but then when Discovery happened, it's like all funding and interest in that went down. Now, the funny thing about that is that tragedy single-handedly changed one company from being bankrupt into a company that still exists today. Do you know what that was? Who actually benefited from the Challenger explosion?
Well, it'd have to be some private rocket company or something.
Not the rocket company. CNN. Everybody laughed at Ted Turner when he said a 24-hour news channel on cable. Who's going to watch that? Nobody. They were the only camera crew there that caught that explosion.
Oh, wow.
And every news agency on the planet had to say, footage courtesy of CNN.
Oh.
and that legitimized
Yeah.
them.
And that's, what's interesting about that, because I used to love CNN. I used to, I don't know when things changed, but
About 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, okay. When they had stories like that, I mean, you were on CNN because they had the story, right?
Well, not only do they have the story, but that propelled them into legitimacy
Yeah.
and a purpose to have a 24-hour news channel.
I see.
No one else had that. No one else did that. They suddenly had a reason to exist. So the whole thing is their business model then started to succeed, and then because it was so international, they set up international offices, and they would do way more of those, what they now call packages.
Yeah. Yeah.
International packages. CNN International, it was a separate thing. They had the funding from cable TV, from advertisings, and was a worldwide brand. 25 years ago, as streaming began, just as an inkling, and just the business model of cable television, the competition with all the other 24-hour news channels, they're no longer making the same amount of money. They're now splitting it 5-6 ways, and even then, they're all splitting money that's on a lowering market, meaning the broadcast news is losing money, and then they have to split it 6 ways that they didn't have to split it before.
Yeah.
So what happened when they're losing and hemorrhaging money like that, all of a sudden they replaced all of those international things, just all go away. They replaced all their packages with panels.
Oh, is that
Let's
when that
get
happened?
4 or 5
Yeah, I hate
people
the
to
panel
talk.
stuff. Yeah.
Let's
I
get
see.
experts that will say what we want them to say. And then we don't have to spend money.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I tell you,
And that's what destroyed the news.
I'll throw a couple at you that really got me. It was probably CNN. So one was the Kuwait Storm. Do you remember Storm and Norman? And the coverage they had of that.
That was CNN?
Of that war. I mean, I worked a lot of hours, freelancing, whatever. But at night, I was watching that because it was there. It's like, man, look at this, a live coverage of like a war.
Of an actual war.
Yeah, and it was fascinating, just fascinating. I don't know how long it went on, but I actually believe
Almost
this.
a year, I think.
You're not going to believe this. I was so excited about the coverage, and they really did a great job, that when they started to recover, they had to go in and shut down all the wells because they had caught them all on fire on the way out. The Iraqis did, I think. So they were looking for camera crews. And I went as far as to fill out an application to go over there as a cameraman and film all these fires and stuff. And it never worked out. I never got the call to do it, but that whole covering that war was just so exciting to me that I wanted to go over. It was just kind of weird.
It was the first war that was actually like a television premiere.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was surreal. I remember that because I was right out of high school at an age where I could have been drafted if they reinstated the draft, which they thankfully never had to do. And even worse, that was the scariest thing, which was right after I graduated, I had no real plan, and I'd actually started the enlistment in the Marines. And when that war broke out, and they solicited me very deceptively about, there's this band, you'd be playing instruments. After basic, all you can do is play instruments. And then when you get that paper, it says, no, we can pretty much send you wherever we want, whenever we want, and there's no guarantee of anything. It's like, it's like, and then war breaks out, and you're even more paranoid. It's like, this is terrifying. So my cowardice overcompensated for my patriotism.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to get afraid of dying, and getting your head
shot
blown off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the technology and to the media.
But I got one more.
I
think this is going to, the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yes.
I mean,
daily.
We all, it was like a soap opera. It's like you had to tune into the O.J. Simpson trial. You couldn't miss it.
I was working for Micro Center in their corporate office, and every day at lunch, everybody from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the break room, that little 13-inch TV, everybody's watching it. That's all we talked about every day for months.
Do you think that trial? Because I I wondered, how they were able to get the judge gave the approval for the cameras. But for example, the one that happened, the last few weeks was the Diddy trial. No cameras. You get those little drawings, and that stuff's horrible. It's like boring. You hear the story, but if you can't see what's happening in the courtroom,
it's not worth it. But the thing is, there are no cameras allowed in federal courts.
Is that what it is?
They do not allow cameras, which is archaic and out of date and just ridiculous. Especially the worst is the Supreme Court not allowing cameras. That is the absolute worst. To me, that's criminal.
Yeah, because what are you hiding, right? I mean, the Supreme Court should not be. That shouldn't be the case.
The Supreme Court is making such relevant decisions. Now, the thing is, what's even more dumb is they allow audio recording. So what's the difference? What difference does it make? Even if they did the thing like, even in Franklin County here in Ohio, they have built-in cameras in every courtroom.
Yeah.
Multiple angles that auto-switch based on the microphone.
Yeah.
That technology's been there for years. Now, it's 360p. It's extremely low resolution, but it's there. But, yeah, but the thing is, and each judge can determine, I don't want these turned on if I don't feel like it. And far more importantly, if a minor is involved, no way, no cameras, no audio is recorded, but only for transcript.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a minor child involved, their rights could be trampled on, but based on what's said, even if it's parents fighting over the child. It's not even talking about something gross like abuse.
Well, now, there was one. Tell me about this one, because I do remember another one that, because it was televised, I watched some of it. I couldn't watch. It wasn't as interesting, but was the guy that played Pirates of the Caribbean.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
And Amber Heard, his ex-wife.
Yes. That was on TV.
Yeah.
Parts of it or all of it?
Well, there's a difference there. That was a civil suit.
Okay.
Not a criminal. Criminal means public. Civil courts generally mean public unless it's federal, and that was not a federal case. So since it wasn't federal, cameras were absolutely permitted to be there. There were no children involved, so there was no reason to say no. The argument is this ruling going to be of public interest? When you're talking about Johnny Depp and his girlfriend pooing in his bed, that's of public interest.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I didn't watch a frame of it. I had zero interest in their marriage deteriorating.
Yeah, I didn't. I just want to see Johnny Depp, and that's what everybody was there for.
Yeah,
and to see if he was going to put on a little acting show or not, and he kind of did.
He did, but he just because he's just so weird.
Yeah,
he was being himself.
Yeah, he was being himself. But it was entertaining.
See, I never watched a frame. I had very little interest in it, other than I like the end result. That it's like, oh man, did everybody screw up? Because you had Warner Brothers screwed up by firing him.
Oh boy, did
from
they
those
ever.
Harry Potter spinoffs. Then you had Disney that fired him from Pirates of the Caribbean, and then he wins, and it's proven that he didn't actually do the things he was accused of.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a mistake. He's livid at both of them.
Yeah.
He's like, screw you guys then. You guys should have believed in me and you didn't.
The thing is, though, I don't think it really helped him get any good roles again. I mean, he's had quite a few, but nothing.
So it's actually cost him.
Nothing breakout. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Supposedly, Disney offered him an unholy sum of money to do another Pirates of the Caribbean, and he said no because they didn't stand by him.
Is that right? Because I know Bruckheimer thought he was going to do another Pirates of the Caribbean, so that's what happened.
It might still happen.
Okay.
I bet there's a chance that it still happens.
Yeah.
Because in the end, all anybody cares about is money.
Yeah, or a hit. So,
hey, Joey.
Okay, that was fun. Now, I want to talk a little bit about more data centers because I like talking about Meta, and you got your opinions. And I know that Zuckerberg, I think, is back over in court again, maybe in Europe. He's defending Facebook. But
what's the accusation? What's the court case over?
I'm sure it's over privacy concerns of some sort. I didn't. It wasn't interesting enough for me to pay attention because this other part is. So, he's on this. We talked about on the last episode where superintelligence, new division, and he's been hiring all these people and outrageous salaries. He came on and said, look, some of that stuff's not quite true, et cetera, et cetera. But he came out and put out two new big data centers. One's called Prometheus. What was so interesting to me is Prometheus is being built in New Albany. Ohio.
Okay, so is he replacing the Intel factory that was going to go in?
No, Intel is still happening there, but Intel drug it out 7 years before they really. But what's fascinating about it, see, he didn't talk about this data center before. We knew they said, look, we're building a data center. But then he gave it this name Prometheus, and then he gave it a gigawatt, like how much power it's going to be. And I think 5 gigawatts. That's big. Well, what's interesting about this whole thing is by Intel pulling out, AEP, which is the power company in Ohio, had already pre-built the power for Intel. It's already all there, installed, ready to go. And AEP was like, man, Intel pulls out, they lose all that business. Well, it only took a few months. Zuckerberg, I think, increased the size of that data center because he had the power available already there that I think he's going to steal it from where it was going to go to Intel because Intel can't, it can't sit there for 7 years.
No.
So suddenly we got power to power Prometheus, and then he announced one bigger one. I don't have the name handy right now. Another interesting name, even bigger than 5 gigawatts. But this is a little bit of Ohio, trivia.
Ohio technology trivia.
Because we're in that race now with Pennsylvania, Texas. They have this in Texas. I think it's called Star. It's some crazy name.
But again, we've had that thing to where we live in the greater Columbus, Ohio area, and it's shocking to see the growth we're experiencing over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Amazon opening those big distribution centers. Rickenbacker, former Air Force Base, I think it technically still is.
It's still an Air Force Base.
But it's primarily taking plane shipments for goods, not people.
Yeah, because it's a free trade zone.
And there's all these warehouses, trucking companies, just distribution and logistics have just filled the area exponentially.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Just on my drive from my house to here, there are probably 10 to 12 new enormous warehouses.
Yeah, and don't forget about, we talked about Adro, the drone company.
Yep.
Going to build there.
So it's fascinating to see that's causing growth in the city. And now everything in New Albany, Intel announced just a couple of years ago this giant factory they were building.
I don't know if you probably weren't interested, but the train track runs. They were bringing in, because when they build the wafers or whatever it is that they were going to build, they have to be inside these crazy metal type buildings or weird looking. Anyway, they brought all that up through the train tracks. So you could go down. They had a schedule. It was usually on Sundays. We'd go down and park your car and watch these massive, massive things that they were going to use to build these wafers coming into Ohio. It was pretty fascinating. And then to have that announcement, though, that was really sad. The governors, DeWine didn't say much about it, but man, you give Intel all those tax breaks, and then they just pull the plug because they're a mismanaged company. Well, that's
But then
bad.
2 or 3 other companies are looking to fill the hole of what was already done infrastructure-wise, like Meta coming in.
Yeah.
Amazon is coming in for both data
And Google.
center and Google, all coming in to help fill that void because of they'd spent tens of millions of dollars in prep for Intel. Well, none of that's really going to waste. So they just got lucky.
They did. They got super
lucky that others were able to pick that slack up.
Yeah.
And Intel's not even entirely out of the game.
No. I mean, they got a new CEO, and he's got a game plan. But first, the game plan is skinny up. Get to your core.
Yep.
Get
and
rid
then
of the
get
dead
profit
weight.
again.
Yeah.
And then, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's just fascinating that with that, what all comes with that, because it isn't just the maybe 3,000 or 5,000 jobs. It's all the house building, apartment building, government works that have to go with that, restaurants, bars, grocery stores. There's so much that gets added to those jobs from the region.
Yeah, at least the construction parts of it, because it takes years to construct.
Yep.
As you know, actual employment of a data center, maybe
Minimal.
100 people tops.
Tops.
Yeah.
So it's not about that.
Yeah, no. But the building of the infrastructure, the power, the roads, you name it. I mean, that's a lot of jobs for quite a few years. So if anybody says, hey, why did the state do that? Well, there's a reason. I mean, they really did create jobs. And then those people get skilled, and then they can, next thing you know, they're building another data center on the other side of town.
Yep.
So they got another 5 years worth of work, so there's nothing wrong with I think states
not at all.
subsidizing major projects. I think people don't realize how big the projects are.
And I don't think they understand that it isn't just about the initial or the jobs at the one place. It's the everything that goes with it that also changes everything. It's just.
Well, they used to say that about the movie industry, when each state would have credits for making a film. It's true, but the thing that I learned that I never liked, when the state gives a lot of credits for movie making, the problem is, man, they all of a sudden, those dudes that were in L.A. are in Ohio taking the work. There might be a small handful of union guys from the Ohio market, let's just say, but the majority, all the equipment trucked in from, some other state, from one movie to the next movie. And yes, it did employ, but it didn't employ like I think these types of projects are.
No, it's not the same thing. We're talking about a tax incentive for a film. It's for a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
And the main thing is to try to, in some ways, it's less about local employment as much as it is restaurants and hotels to bring those people in.
That's right.
So that.
That's true.
Which is why the grants are tied to hotel taxes too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in one regard. But, I think our film commission does a great job. They've brought some interesting stuff in, but the biggest thing that was one thing we didn't say much about, which was how much of that new Superman movie was shot in Cleveland.
Well,
the Metropolis is essentially Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah. I mean, they've done that for numerous.
Avengers.
All the Avengers.
It doubled as Washington D.C. for Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3, shot in Cleveland for a lot of New York. So it's just somebody in the Cleveland Film Commission is doing something damn right.
Yeah. Well, but they got that one look. It's just perfect. It's
the
like
tall buildings.
Yeah.
And people willing to put up with traffic to get a movie shot there.
And the other thing is it's a small section through there, and there are ways around it. And, I mean, it just works. I mean, Cleveland has that look, the New York look for movie sets. I mean, it's
perfect.
Yeah.
Without the cost.
Yeah, without the cost. And
without the hassle or red tape.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, but that kind of thing, like tax incentives, it's about temporary money, not permanent money.
Yeah.
Like these kind of subsidizing these projects are long term.
What do you say we wrap it up for now? And if we want to come back and
if we want to come back and do some more, we can. But this for kind of a test live stream on YouTube like this. Finally, our automation's working and our sound's working in the best way. Of course, we'll have to double check that, see if anything went horrible wrong in the middle of it, and we just don't know it. But essentially, I call it success. I think what we got to start doing is scheduling these like weeks in advance. Just keep scheduling our Thursday.
Yeah.
And do them a little later, but let's call this a successful experiment.
Yeah, well, I think it was great. Thank you, YouTube, for allowing us to stream on your wonderful platform.